we have to call out bad stuff. We can't be scared to call out bad people for being bad and doing bad stuff. We can't. Mm-mm. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Monica for those who are new, and if you are returning, welcome back. I put up a video last week about the whole Jamie and Nikki situation, and the comments had me shook. I was really, really shook, and I was actually very concerned for you people because I feel like there's some people who don't know how to identify manipulation in relationships. The video you're about to watch was actually recorded before Nikki released her response, but I decided to include it here because she drops a lot of bombshells and yeah, we need to hear this. She starts off by explaining that Jamie actually removed that video on his own accord. She has not spoken to him since he dropped that video and she did not request for him to remove it. So Nikki starts off by explaining that in 2019, she realized that something was off in her relationship. She came across a podcast called Love and Abuse, and that's where she realized that she's being emotionally abused by Jamie, allegedly, and also a covert narcissist. The clip we saw when Nikki slapped the camera out of Jamie's hand, she explains that she came to the house to collect some clothes and wanted to have a conversation. He kept calling her a slut and to get out of his house. She then requested that he drops the girls at the supermarket car park for changeover, and he says he would rather do it at a police station. Nikki then goes on to explain that she didn't want to inflict more trauma on her daughters, which is why she didn't want to do this at a police station. She goes on to explain that Jamie has been doing this to her since she was 18 by recording her without her consent. Even posted her personal birth vlogs while she asked him for time to just emotionally recover and spend some time with their daughter before sharing all of the content and images with the rest of the world. Jamie then told her to stop sabotaging the channel. He was very sweet to her on camera, but off camera, he was very critical and even body shamed her for having stretch marks and saggy skin after giving birth to their first daughter. He would repeatedly make comments on her body, according to what Nikki is saying here, and blamed her for everything. Shortly after that encounter, he tried to get a restraining order on Nikki, which not only would have protected him, but also their daughters, having her not being able to come into contact with them within 200 meters. According to Nikki, Jamie's mother has enabled this behavior and even signed as a witness that saw Nikki beating up Jamie in front of the children. So Nikki goes on to explain that they were actually not supposed to speak on their relationship for a year, but after that they were free to do so. So Jamie had time from 2020 to talk about these issues and only decided to talk about them now. She explains that she never kept the kids away from Jamie. All she wanted was just for them to not be exploited, and even asked Jamie that if he's going to record them, he will have to pay the children or put money aside for them. He didn't want to do this. He has not even done it, according to Nikki. Nikki also explained that actually he stole the channel from her. He has kept all of the AdSense money, changed the banking details, and kept the revenue from past vlogs for his personal account or for himself. And Nikki can't even access these things because he has changed the passwords. She has even asked for footage of her sister Sarah, who has passed away. He says the footage has been destroyed. Nikki says, wow, a lot of he says, she says. Nikki then goes on to explain that her sister isn't alive anymore and that the footage that Jamie is saying that has been destroyed was the only video footage she had of her sister to look back on to remember her. He did this intentionally, according to Nikki, because he knew how sensitive her sister and her daughters were to her, and he used that to basically get back to her. She also talks about his health, saying that he always had time to party and go out with friends, travel, and Nikki stayed behind with children. So why was he blaming her basically for being sick and not being able to get a regular job? Nikki says she even gave him ideas as well to make videos on his editing skills because he's such a great editor, like we've all been saying. She also details what happened actually on his 40th birthday, along with the Dad Play group and Disney World. She apologized, of course, for the remarks that she made about depression and explains why she spoke so harshly about it because before Jamie pressed record and uploaded what we saw, the conversation before
actually is when Jane was busy calling her crazy and said that she needed psychiatric help and threatening her to take full custody of their children.
It's very important that we acquaint ourselves with these things. And if you just came out of a long-term relationship or you're still dating, it's always good to just refresh your mind, remind yourself that we are here in the big bad world and people have ulterior motives, people have goals that they have set for themselves, and some people will want to attain or achieve those goals by any means, even if it means stepping on other people. This can even be your romantic partner. So if I'm pointing these things out and you're feeling a bit of resistance in yourself, then I think it's time for you to maybe introspect and look into yourself, that why am I so resistant to taking this information? Do I feel like I know someone like this, or do I feel like I am exhibiting these qualities? Because for people to just be so like violent about a white man, I will never understand. I will never understand. So I'm from South Africa and I was born and raised in South Africa. I grew up here my whole life. And there's two things in South Africa as women we talk about proudly and loudly. And not just women actually, but just for this video's sake, women. We don't shy away from race as South Africans. Not even just women, but collectively as a nation, we don't shy away from talking about race. In 1996, 2 years after we were founded, not founded, but we founded our freedom as a country, we had the TRC, the Truth Reconciliation Commission. And this commission was a platform for Black or African South Africans to hold their oppressors accountable. We had a whole commission where Black people got into a room and called out white people for all of the atrocities that they did. Now, in my opinion, the TRC was just a farce for people to get away with things, because the white people who took part in it weren't really held accountable, like legally. But Black people were still able to express themselves, and that has birthed a generation that is not afraid to speak on race. And secondly, it has birthed a nation that is also not scared to speak on patriarchy. We need to remember that Africans are more of a matriarchal society versus the West that's more patriarchal. So that's why patriarchy in our society, it's women just can't figure it out. We can't live with it, we can't support it, we can't promote it, because it goes against who we are as a people. So in South Africa, we're very much open and we call out the patriarchal system, and we have to because of the stats. Someone commented and said, don't call South African men violent. Where do you think I live? I live in South Africa. I know these people. These people are my brothers. These people are my uncles. These people, I know South African men. And here are the stats. So we shouldn't talk about it because you're uncomfortable. What? Okay. So because of those things, I will always mention race. I will always mention men and patriarchy. In South Africa, woof, white men. I will just point out 3 incidents, just 3. I remember a few years ago, a white man dared to go head to head with a Black woman over her child.
Your child. Look at your child's size. Hitting against the head.
Excuse me?
Yes.
That child is so tiny.
Hey, I'm looking through the window and she's hitting my child against the head.
Look here. You won't come here and be a bully. Just leave us alone.
Is that so?
You can't come here and be a bully.
Is that so?
Such a big man being a bully.
I'm telling you to do something.
Just back off. I won't do anything.
Actually, you push like
Then we had Black men who were urinating in people's food. And then again, we had white men who buried someone alive to scare them. So when I tell you guys that you can't just quickly side with white men, this is what I mean.
There were tears on both sides of the courtroom in the so-called coffin case. It was a case that laid bare the ongoing racial divide in post-apartheid South Africa. On Friday, a judge sentenced Theo Jackson to 14 years and Willem Oosthuizen to 11 years in prison.
The most appalling act by the accused was to put a living person in a coffin against his will under threats of killing him.
Video shot by the men on a mobile phone led to nationwide condemnation and eventually their arrests. Victor Maloshwa says he was taking a shortcut on the men's farm.
This is not to spread hate. This is not to, I don't know, but it's to speak honestly on people and what it is that they do. If you're in a relationship with someone, you know them very, very well. So if you are a white man who's in a relationship with a black woman, a dark-skinned black woman, best believe she's going to explain to you at some point just the things that she's gone through, how the world sees her, and you're also there witnessing it firsthand when you're beside her. So when someone who understands that experience puts out the disgusting video that this man put out, you already know what his motives are. Like, you know what his motives are. We know how you want this person to be seen, and it's not a matter of if this person is innocent or not. It's a matter of, why are you endangering the life of a black woman? Guys, let's open our eyes. This was put to court. Why has the woman not then been arrested if she did this, if this was bad? Because don't forget, we only saw a snippet. We saw a snippet of someone slapping a camera out of someone's hand. Why did the court not arrest her then? I think we need to really look at things through a critical eye and a critical lens and understand that abuse in relationships is not so straightforward. Like, do yourself a favor and watch the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard documentary so you can understand how sometimes a perpetrator can push a victim to become a perpetrator themselves in order for them to defend themselves. They will now have to resort to abuse to defend themselves. So we need to acquaint ourselves to understand domestic abuse better. We also need to understand that men are very manipulative, especially if the man is themselves a manipulative person. And their friends have come out to also support the narrative and say, yes, you have manipulated the story and we see you. It's not a matter of knowing what happened. At the end of the day, we say we are for women empowerment. We stand with women. This is it. These are the tests. Like, this is how we show if we're truly about it or we're not about it. And standing for someone doesn't necessarily mean you condone the bad stuff that they did, but it's also to say that, hey, you are not so innocent yourself and you can't demonize someone because you can't get the thing that you want. You cannot make someone look horribly bad because you can't get your own way. Is that not manipulation in itself? Someone manipulating information to fit their own narrative so that they can obtain their goal. I do feel like we think that shying away from race is going to make it not an issue anymore. That is not going to help. We need to talk about race. We need to highlight race. Our lives is about race. Like, racism is systematic. That's why people who look like me, African people, we can't be racist, because racism is a system. It's a system where the government, the school, the banking, everything is being created in such a system where black people are at a disadvantage, or people who are of color are at a disadvantage. That is racism. Whereas us people can be prejudiced. So people of color can't be racist, but we can be prejudiced. Am I prejudiced towards white people for calling them out on the bullshit that they do? If that's the case, then lock me up. Lock me up. Because we have to call out bad stuff. We can't be scared to call out bad people for being bad and doing bad stuff. We can't. If that's the case, then this channel is not for you, because I call out people. If you look through my channel, I've been calling out people from the get-go. I call out white men who misuse their power. That's what I do, and I'm here for it, always. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments in the comment section. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I will just reiterate again, do not shy away from talking about race. Talk about it. It's very important. That's how we get through things, by going through them. If we just jump over them, we are bound to repeat the same mistakes again. Thank you so much for stopping by.